Hello friends. Here we are going to discuss about the art and techniques of film editing. Film editing is a creative process of assembling different parts of the shots to create a narrative structure. Film editing essentially has three major parts. One is selection of the right shot. It often happens that the director is not happy with what he has shot. He may opt for other options, like taking the same action over and over again. In that case, the editor's first job is to select the right shot that is required for the film. The second job of the editor is to look for the right portion of that right shot. While shooting, the director takes a longer portion of the shot, which is not necessary in the film. The editor's job is to select the right portion of that shot and take the portion of the action that is actually necessary. The third part is the most challenging part, which is assembling these bits and pieces into a narrative structure, which finally gives us the film that we see. The famous film director Stanley Kubrick once said that film editing is perhaps the only unique thing in filmmaking language which has got no resemblance with any other art form. It can make or break a film. Film editing is definitely an art form because the selection of the right section of the shot does not only depend on the technical qualities or the capabilities of the editor. It depends on his understanding of the film language, rhythm, pace, and more importantly, character politics. Unfortunately, it is also known that the more invisible the art is in cinema, the more better it becomes for the editor. So, a good film editor never gets the acknowledgement from the audience because it's not visible. It's called an invisible art. But people who actually know what an editor goes through while making a film would be able to appreciate the work that a good editor has done in his film. Let us now explore the different techniques and styles that the editor follows while making a film, and as he tells the story with images and sound. The last decade of the 19th century saw films which are single-shot films. Films like Train Entering a Station or Workers Leaving a Factory were considered to be sensational films at that point of time. These films, if watched today, would be quite boring. But we can compare this feeling of watching images and sound with 3D technologies or 11.1 surround immersive sound that we experience today. Maybe 20 years down the line, these films won't appeal to us as sensational films. The first films that came in were not stories. They were real images, as in images of real life happening in front of the camera. The second attempt was made to tell a story to the audience. But these were long shots taken from a distance. It was more or less like watching a theater. A single shot where everything was happening in front of the camera. Single shots then became two shots and then became multi-reelers. But the essence of these films were told by long shots only. So it was like watching theatre on film, which changed in the next decade. In films like The Life of an American Fireman and later in The Great Train Robbery, Edwin S. Porter thoroughly established the effect of film editing in cinema. In the film The Life of an American Fireman, the story is quite linear in structure. Linear in the sense we have two stories happening parallelly at two places. One is where the fire broke out, and second, where the firemen are trying to reach for rescue. Later in many films, we have seen that these two scenes are often established together so that the sense of suspense and thrill is more and the audience is more entertained. But this effect was not utilized in this film. And the firemen reached the location and then only we saw the girl who was rescued. Cross-cutting treatment was first seen in the film The Great Train Robbery. In the film The Great Train Robbery, we find that the effect of cross-cutting was established, where the people who would finally rescue the thing that was stolen from the train and the burglars, These two sequences were cross-cut with each other to give the sense of parallel cutting and to evoke the sense of suspense and thrill. Almost a decade later, D.W. Griffith's film The Birth of a Nation proved something very different as far as film editing was concerned. In this film, he first established the effect of dramatic emphasis. So far, we were watching films which are long shots taken from a distance. The camera always was in the position of an observer from a distance and never used to get into the closer shots. But in this film, we see that the director wanted to confine the look of the audience within the space where the drama is actually happening. The shots of expressions, the shots of significant elements within the frame was established. These shots were put together and the film actually established what dramatic emphasis was all about. As the language of film editing developed, both in America and Russia, Russian filmmakers like Lev Kuleshov, Pudovkin, and later Sergei Eisenstein developed newer methods of telling stories. Lev Kuleshov was one of the film directors who experimented with shots. Shots which do not actually relate with each other, but when put together give a different meaning. This was followed by the famous experiment now known as the Kuleshov experiment. In this experiment, he used the face of an expressionless actor. This face was then juxtaposed with three different shots. One was the shot of a soup bowl. The second one was the shot of a woman in a coffin. And the third one was the shot of a young girl. These three options were shown to the audience. The audience highly appreciated the actor's performance. They said that in the first shot, the actor looked hungry. They also said in the second shot, the actor looked mournful in the shot where they saw the shot of the coffin. In the third case, the audience said that the actor had an expression of lust. But as a matter of fact, in all three cases, the expression of the actor was the same. This definitely proved that by placing shots one after the other, the editor can change the meaning of the previous shot. And two shots put together can mean something very different from the shot itself. The Kuleshov experiment is still valid now. The experiment gave the editor the option of recreating reality. Because with this option, the editor can randomly place any shot after any shot and recreate something which was not there in the independent shots. Later, film editing also wanted to prove that emotions can be narrated through images. We have seen this happen in films like Mother by Pudovkin. Here, internal emotions like happiness, sadness were expressed with images of nature. Even the images of destruction was juxtaposed with shots of actual destruction happening mentally. These tools form the basic editing tools for the editor. The editor can now recreate what they want with images which are not meant for that. With the experiments done by film directors like Sergei Eisenstein, film language got an importance in the arena of filmmaking. Film editing is now not only joining actions or narrative portions within the film. Film editing now meant saying something else. Sergei Eisenstein developed the theories of montage. Montage is a French term which actually means assembling, unlike editing, which means reducing something from the main body of work. Sergei Eisenstein formulated 5 kinds of montage theories. The first one was called metric montage. Metric montage means where shots are cut into pieces of the same length and joined with each other. Metric montage does not necessarily mean that you are trying to say something with the images. The equal length shots has got an effect on screen, and that is what was experimented with this montage theory. The second montage was rhythmic montage. Rhythmic montage was a step ahead of metric montage. With rhythmic montage, the happenings inside the frame now became important. The shot inherently has got a rhythm, and shots of the same rhythm were juxtaposed with each other, giving the sense of what is called rhythmic montage. The third kind of montage is called the tonal montage. Tonal montage is actually a combination of rhythmic and metric montage. The fourth one was called overtonal montage, and the fifth one, and the most important one, was called the intellectual montage. Intellectual montage, in a way, also proved that film editing can say something in the film which is very different from the images. Intellectual montage also proved that two shots can give rise to a third meaning. Two shots may complement each other, two shots may conflict with each other and give a third meaning. This was also called the thesis versus antithesis, giving a synthesis. This intellectual theory of montage was exploited by many directors, and it's still part of film editing in the present age. The work of directors that we explained so far is somehow reflected in all the films that we see nowadays. All the films are indebted to the works and experiments done by the Russian filmmakers and the early American filmmakers. In the coming episodes, we'll see how a cut, fade, dissolves, and all these tools for editing that we often see in cinema actually work in the language of filmmaking.